Today we dive into 3 heartbreaking betrayals that cut deep into trust and identity. First, a fiancé forces an impossible, invasive test that shatters a woman's sense of safety. Second, a lover tries to erase a cherished pet, turning love into a cruel ultimatum. Third, a spouse's seemingly innocent habit endangers a life-saving career. Each story will walk you through the quiet warning signs, the gut-punch moment of discovery, and the painful yet empowering steps toward reclaiming control. Grab a tissue, because these raw truths will hit home. I was sitting at the kitchen table, heart pounding, when my fiancé slid a text onto my phone. His father wanted to see my hymen before our wedding next week. The room seemed to drop several degrees, the clatter of dishes fading into an eerie silence. I stared at the glowing screen, disbelief morphing into a choking dread that wrapped around my throat. Every promise we had whispered to each other replayed, now twisted into a grotesque demand that no one should ever have to face. The shock left me numb, my mind racing for an escape route that felt impossible. We had been together for 3 years, building a life that felt as solid as a rock. He was kind, funny, and always seemed to champion my career ambitions. Our tiny apartment was filled with shared dreams, a future home with a garden, travel plans, and a wedding playlist we curated together. Friends constantly described us as the couple destined for happiness, and I could already picture the aisle, the smiles, the vows. The betrayal cut deeper because it shattered a partnership I believed was built on mutual respect, love, and an unspoken promise to protect each other's dignity. Looking back, there were tiny red flags I missed. He constantly sought his family's approval, bragging about how much his dad valued tradition. He made offhand jokes about testing my purity, laughing it off as cultural quirks. Whenever I mentioned my own family, his smile tightened, and he quickly changed the subject. He also avoided any real conversation about physical intimacy, diverting with humor or vague statements. I dismissed these moments as harmless eccentricities, convinced love would smooth over any discomfort. The warning signs were there, but my hope drowned them out. When I finally confronted him about the text, his face hardened like stone. He claimed his father was merely following tradition, and that refusing would betray his entire family. He shouted, demanding that if I truly loved him, I would comply. My world tilted. The man I trusted was now demanding a violation of my body and agency. My hands shook, tears blurred the kitchen lights, and I realized the relationship had become a battlefield of control. The realization hit like a cold wave, leaving me gasping for breath. I walked out of that apartment with my heart shattering, and called my best friend in a trembling voice. She drove me to her couch, where we spent the night talking, crying, and planning next steps. I filed a restraining order against his family's intrusion, broke off the engagement, and began therapy to untangle the trauma. Months later, I'm planning a solo trip I'd always wanted, surrounded by supportive friends. I'm proud to say I chose my own future over his twisted expectations, reclaiming my body and my voice. From a cruel family demand, we shift to a lover who wanted to erase a cherished companion from my life, turning love into a heartbreaking ultimatum about a pet that meant everything to me. I opened my mailbox to find a handwritten note from my girlfriend, demanding I give up my cat, Mittens, because cats eat meat and kill mice. The paper trembled in my hands, each word slicing like a blade. My heart clenched as I imagined Mittens' soft purrs, the way she curled around my legs during lonely nights. The note felt like a demand to surrender a piece of myself. I felt the weight of love pressuring me to sacrifice a part of my identity, and a cold dread settled over the room. We'd been together for a year, bonding over plant-based meals, long hikes, and late-night philosophy talks. She was passionate about vegan ethics, and I admired her dedication to a cause she lived every day. Friends praised us as a perfectly aligned couple, and I introduced her to Mittens, hoping to share my world. The relationship felt balanced, each of us learning from the other, until the cat became an unexpected battleground. Her love for animals was fierce, but it soon collided with my own soft spot for my feline companion. Early on, she questioned my occasional fish dinner and lectured friends about animal rights at every gathering. She often dismissed my affection for animals that weren't vegan-approved, labeling them as unnecessary indulgences. When I mentioned adopting a rescue dog, she balked, saying it would dilute her lifestyle. I chalked it up to zeal, not realizing the line she would soon draw through my heart. Small moments, her eye rolls, the way she corrected my vocabulary, were early hints that her values might become non-negotiable demands. The ultimatum arrived on a rainy Tuesday. She spread a stack of articles about animal cruelty across the coffee table, then placed Mitten's favorite toy in front of me, demanding I choose between the cat and our relationship. My chest tightened, and I could almost hear Mitten's soft meow echoing in my mind. I realized her love came with a condition that threatened to erase a part of my identity. The betrayal felt like a silent, crushing blow, an emotional blackmail that left me reeling and questioning every moment we had shared. I scooped Mittens into my arms, hugged her tightly, and left the apartment with a heavy heart but a clear mind. I ended the relationship, telling her she deserved a partner who shared her values completely. Today, Mittens and I enjoy sunny windowsills, and I'm dating someone who respects both my compassion for animals and my right to keep my furry friend. I learned that love should never require me to give up who I am, and that setting boundaries is the first step toward true freedom. From an ultimatum about a pet, we moved to a marriage where everyday habits became a dangerous betrayal that threatened a life-saving career. One night I returned from a 12-hour shift, exhausted, only to find my boots knotted together like a child's prank. My wife giggled, just keeping things tidy, but her eyes held a flicker of defiance. My boots aren't just shoes, they're the gear that lets me rush into emergencies. The simple act felt like sabotage of my very purpose, a silent threat hidden in domestic routine. A surge of panic rose in my chest as I imagined what could happen if those laces ever slowed me down in a real call. We'd been married for 6 years, a partnership forged by love and mutual support. I work as an, often returning home bruised but alive, while she manages our home, caring for the garden and our dog. Friends admired how we balanced chaos and calm, praising our teamwork. I trusted her implicitly, believing that her small habits were harmless quirks, not threats. Our bond felt unshakable, until the everyday organizing turned into something that jeopardized my ability to save lives. She'd rearrange my gear, move my keys, and insist on organizing my equipment, always with a smile. When I tried to explain the urgency of my boots, she'd laugh and say, "It'll look nicer." I brushed it off, thinking I could adapt, but each time I fumbled for the right strap, my pulse quickened. Her constant meddling grew louder, turning affection into frustration. Small moments, misplaced stethoscopes, misplaced flashlights, were early clues that her desire for order might cross a line into endangering my work. The tipping point came after a call where minutes mattered. I sprinted to my truck, only to stumble over the tangled laces, losing precious seconds that could have meant a life lost. My heart hammered as the reality sank in. Her help had become a silent weapon against my duty. I confronted her, voice shaking, demanding she stop. She finally understood, eyes widening with fear, realizing the unintended consequences of her organizing. The confrontation was raw, but it opened a path to honest dialogue about safety. We attended couples counseling, where she learned about the stakes of my profession and I learned to set clear boundaries around my equipment. She now respects my gear, leaving it untouched, and we've created a shared system for organization that satisfies both of us. Our marriage survived the crisis, emerging stronger, with renewed appreciation for each other's worlds. I'm back on my shifts, boots untied, feeling supported and safe, grateful that honest conversation turned a potential tragedy into growth. Betrayal can hide in family demands, dietary ultimatums, or even seemingly harmless habits. Each story shows that confronting truth, setting boundaries, and choosing self-respect leads to healing. Remember, you deserve love that lifts you, not one that limits you. What would you have done in their shoes? Share your thoughts below, and let's keep supporting each other through the darkest moments.